Montari, Enkelman half-saved it, but it's turned in. Kanu has got it this time. It's Pompey chimes of Wembley joy. His famous old club have at last another triumph to celebrate, and Harry Redknapp, in his first experience of a major occasion, is a Wembley winner.
The takeover has been agreed. Portsmouth are the new Chelsea.
No one had any reason to doubt that he wasn't a multi-billionaire.
The wages the players were getting were extortionate.
The first amount was 2 million, and before I knew it, it snowballed to 17.
Nobody would have touched us with a barge pole. We were toxic.
Why has somebody got to do it? Why can't you do it? Why can't we do it?
It was time to call a halt to a dictatorial ownership.
This is going to be the one time where we could actually end up putting Portsmouth Football Club into the hands of the people that love it most, the fans.
If you have drive, enthusiasm, talent, a belief in what you're doing and incurable optimism, there's nothing that can't be done.
Excellent. Well, it's a pleasure to be down here, as always, Kev, in the bowels of Fratton Park here. My name's Colin Farmery. I'm the executive producer of our club, the movie, and I'm delighted to be joined by Kev McCormack because he was one of the stars of the red carpet at the launch of the film. I seem to remember. Yeah, that was a great day if I remember it. But what we want to try to do is obviously, the film story is quite well known now, but we're trying to go a little bit behind the scenes on it. So I'm delighted that Kev's joined us to give us a little bit of background on that. But before we do that, obviously, your accent isn't exactly Portsmouth, is it, Kev? So perhaps you could just give us a little idea about how you ended up at Portsmouth Football Club.
Well, I'm a Welshman. I was born in Wales. I'm a bit of a gypsy, really, because both my parents are Irish. And I moved to Portsmouth with my boxing coach many years ago. I was a bricklayer by trade and he was a scaffolder, and he got me a job down here. So I worked on Port Solent around 85, 86 as an 18-year-old. Work dried up then and I was going to turn professional boxing. And then I kept having the services ring me to tell me to join up because they'll look after me, this, that and the other. Around 86 there was a recession on. There wasn't much work, and in the end I did take the test to become join the services. Being out of school for 2 years, me NAMIT wasn't the best with maths and that. I couldn't do fractions, and if you give me a tape measure and set out a building, then I'd be able to do that. So I always remember a quite rather large chap from the Royal Navy, who was a chef, said, I can offer you a steward, which is really being an officer's, I can't swear on this, so lackey, that's the word called, good word, or a chef, or the Royal Marines. And he looked me up and down and said, I don't think you'll do that. And if anybody says that to me, I love proving people wrong. So I said, give me the Royal Marines. I went down, did the PRC, I passed it. Then I did 6 months of training, got my Green Beret, came back, went into the careers officer, threw my Green Beret on the table and said, not bad for a fat lad. And I still speak to that man to this day. So then that's how I come down here. And then when I was in the Marines, still boxing down here, Kit Simons was playing for the club. He was a Welsh international. I was a boxing international for Wales, and we knew each other from going to functions and stuff like that, especially after the Commonwealth Games and that, where I carried a flag at the opening ceremony in 1994. We were at a function and Neil Sillett was the physio, and he said, Kev, is there any chance you training the lads, the injured, to get them fitter? And I said, yeah, no problems. And they used to come in twice a week, and that was football against the PDIs, and then they used to do 3/4 of an hour with me up in the boxing gym. I was getting medically discharged then. I had 9 knee operations, 3 discs cracked in my back and that. And Alan Ball said to me, come and be my kit man, because Gordon Neve was retiring. And I said, what the hell do I do with that? And he said, don't worry about it. he shook me with the hand, and I've been here ever since.
So when would that have been, about 1998 or so?
Yeah, well, I'm not very good, but it's been that long, Cole. Do you know what I mean? 32 hours, and I'm 53 now, right? I'll be 54 in March, so I'll be here in July next year, 22 years. But I used to run the door for him before that as well, because the lads asked me, because Chimes at that time was like Beirut. There was a lot of mushes in there and all that, and the lads wanted to sort it out, and I got a lot of PTIs and Marines in there who stood on the door and went, "Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am." And when you have people who do that and don't stand there looking like meatheads, they're used to saying sir and ma'am every day. And I know that they could look after themselves and everything calmed down, and they, you know, I did that for 4 years before that as well.
So how did Fratton Park, how was it different back then, sort of 20 odd years ago, to how it is now?
Well, the first thing that was different is I used to put 2 crates of Budweiser on the kit on the bus, 2 bottles of Chablis, and a cigar for Mr. Alan Ball. I'm not saying it was a drinking culture, but back in them days they used to have a beer after a game on the way home and stuff like that.
And physically around Fratton Park, I mean, obviously these changing rooms, I think they've
changed a couple of times, but they haven't. All they've done is got bigger. Really, it's still the same. Really, you know, I mean, the feeling still. To me, it is anyway. You know, when I come back here from, you know, like Tuesday night, I'm here on my own at, you know, 12 o'clock at night, and there's an eerie silence here, and you know what I mean. It's.
There's ghosts of the
well, one thing would sum it up for me is when we played Milan here. Yeah. You know, the atmosphere there. Now, I've done every club in the Football League pyramid, set up at every club, myself and Barry Harris. You never get an atmosphere like you do here. Yeah, and that's why I don't like football at this moment with COVID, because it's like training days. Yeah. Football isn't football without the fans, mate. Yeah, especially Pompey fans. And I just sat there, and I got the FA Cup in my hand, and I'm looking at it. I got a great picture in the house of me looking at the FA Cup like that, and Sol saying something to me, Sol Campbell, you know, saying, "I told you we could do it. I told you we could do it," or something like that.
And I mean that's quite interesting. So it sort of leads into you know where the premise of the film came from, because obviously you're the kit manager here, and suddenly we're into a very exciting period. Harry Redknapp arrives. We get promoted to the Premier League. Sasha Gajdamak then takes over from Milan Mandaric, and we're now a club that's aiming for the top, and we're reaching the FA Cup final, and we're playing AC Milan. When you were here at the time, I mean, did you kind of feel that was sustainable, that it was gonna last?
Right. If you want my honest opinion, and I will give you my honest opinion, I honestly think Sasha's come in. He did have the money at the time. Right? And everybody blames Harry, everybody blames Peter, everybody blames... I'm sorry, it's only my opinion. Now, Harry's a football manager in any walk of life. Yeah. His job is to get a good team out on the pitch. Yeah. He's given Peter Storey a list of players he wants, whether they cost 1 million or 100 million, right? Now, Peter has a boss above him. He goes to Sasha, these are the players we want. It's up to the owner to say yes or no. Not how much it costs or whatever. Harry couldn't care less about that. No one could give a care about that. In any walk of life, you have, whether you're in the services, you've got people who are in charge, you know, rank, whatever. So obviously he said yes. Peter's gone to Harry, go and get what you want. So they signed them, right? Now, anybody says that it weren't the great years, and it did put the club in jeopardy, right? It did. Which nearly broke my heart anyway, not just because of losing his job. That's never been the case. What it was seeing people lose their jobs. It's very sad, right? And that's what I'm saying now. When new people come in and all like that, it's never been about the money. If it was about the money working for Portsmouth Football Club, you'd never work it. And Harry and Peter got a lot of stick. Now, no matter what you do, Harry left before all this happened. Now, Sasha, to me, from what I see, was in there running it for his dad. Right? Now, he had all his assets frozen. Right? Now, if you have all your assets frozen, as a human being, you've got to survive somehow. So how is he going to survive? By selling off his assets, in my opinion. And his assets were the players. Now, everybody blames Harry. He buys Diarra from Arsenal for 4 million and sells him for 21 million. And Harry wasn't even here when we sold him. We sell Crouchy, we sell all them top players, and we made profits on them. Now, Harry didn't take that money.
And I mean, it is quite interesting, isn't it? Because in actual fact, the club did, to a certain extent, we heard about all the debts, but there was a significant payback of some of the debts through those kind of players.
But all I'm saying to you, they got 5 million for Harry going to Tottenham.
Yeah.
Now, I've never heard of that before, that a manager gets, but how can you blame Harry? He's gone. Yeah, quite. And if anything, the players he brought in, they made profit for the club.
No, for sure.
Right? Now, where that money went after is none of my business. I'm the kit manager.
Yeah.
But people got to realise, football is a business now. It's a big business, and if you're not going to keep putting money in down a black hole. If you're a businessman, you're not going to put money down a black hole.
And I mean, was there a point at which you kind of felt or realised things were going wrong? Is there a point in time where
when Harry left?
Yeah.
Because Harry loved it here.
So just take us through that.
Well, I tell you what, we had we had a staff do over at Chimes, and it came up on Sky, and it was the first I heard about it. So it kind of shocked me, and I thought, why is he going to Tottenham? Because we were in the Premier League and that. Now, if you want to be brutally honest, if Sasha Gaidamak's father hadn't had his assets frozen, we'd have still been in the Premier League. We would have still been carrying on, in my opinion. Whether it's right or wrong, that's my opinion. But obviously, if you're losing money, you've got to cut the cloth accordingly. But it still isn't nice when you're called in, when the administrators come in, and you get called into a room and say you have to get rid of some of your staff. And before that, you think it's going to happen to you. Now, again, it was about money, because you know as well as I do, Carl, we all took a substantial loss in wages. And sometimes we didn't even get paid. Now, if you don't care about a club, you just put 2 fingers up and walk away. And the people didn't. See, I'm from a background where loyalty means the world, especially for being a Royal Marine. And what I'm saying to you is, that's got to be replicated, right? Because what's the point? Because people turn against now. If you've got good staff, in my opinion, you should look after them. Because if you don't look after them, they're not going to work out for you.
And do you think there was a sense of, how can I put it, an esprit de corps, a spirit among the staff at that time?
They had good spirit. Yeah. They had good spirit. But when people started losing their job, mate, it was very sad. Yeah, quite. It was very sad. Friends, you know what I mean? And it wasn't about. They had mortgages to pay and mouths to feed, and it was a horrible time. And not just the staff here. I'm on about people who, your local butcher, your shop for papers and that. They all dipped out. But even to this day, they still support their club. Yeah. That's what makes this club one of the most special clubs in the world. Yeah. And I don't say that lightly. I say that with open honesty. When I took off from Gordon Eve, he said, "You'll fall in love with this place," and I went, "Shut up. Behave yourself, Gordon Eve, will you?" But I have. No matter what happens, if I lose my job or whatever, I can walk away from here with my head held high, and this will always hold a special place in my heart, because I've been here for a quarter of my life. I've had some good times, I've had some really, excuse the language, shit times. All right? But that is life. And you can sit there and drip about it and moan about it. It ain't getting you anywhere. Since my wife has been ill, my life has gone, why was I worried about that? Life is short. You shouldn't worry about things. And the club is still here now, and hopefully it's getting stronger and stronger. All right, COVID's thrown in. which is a curveball. But in life, we all get curveballs. My father said that when my missus had cancer. He said, you're throwing curveballs in your life. You have to catch that curveball and take it step by step, because you have more good times than you have bad times. But when the bad times come along, that's when you stand up and be counted. And you take it every day as it comes. And I've done that. And I've done that, whether it was with my wife or as this club. Because the bottom line is, yes, it's great, the club is brilliant, and it's so important to this city, right? Because it's their release. And Bawley always said that to me. People went to war from here and never come back. And I, as an ex-serviceman, I appreciate that, and it's true. That is their release, and that's what this club is. They're passionate.
And I mean, around that sort of draws us into, you know, about the fact that in the end it was the supporters that were the ones who came together to save the club. When were you first sort of aware that there was the potential for a supporter ownership of the club, and what was your sort of initial reaction to it?
Right, I always knew that the club, the supporters would never let this club die. Never. There was too many of them for a start, and ever since I've been in here as an 18-year-old. I married a Pompey girl. I got 2 Pompey children, right? And it does get in your blood, right? And I knew a lot of fans and that who were mates and through the boxing and all like that, and they were always passionate about it. So the passion that this club has got would never let this die. No matter what format we played in, this club would never have died. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care whether it was 2 minutes from closure or whatever. If it closed, they would have started up something else.
So in actual fact, it got to the point though where the fans took over the club as then a League Two club. We've been relegated 3 times in 4 seasons. What were your initial impressions of sort of life under community ownership? Was there a different feel about it at that time?
Yeah, it was. It was obviously, we knew there was no money there for this, that, and the other, but it's like anything in life. You cut your cloth accordingly. And if you're a realist, you sit back and go, they have to do that. They've saved the club. So until we get proper foundations again, that's what's got to be done. And you have to cut your cloth accordingly. And I think they did, and I thought they'd done a great job. And when it was time to sell it on, they even did it properly, because they don't want to get the wrong people in.
And I mean, I suppose one of the high spots, I think, and obviously it's the climax of the film as well, without giving too much away, was the fact that we were League Two champions on the last day of the season. You know, Carlsberg don't do title chases, but if they did, that would be the way to do it. Obviously, one of the key people involved in that was Paul Cook, who kind of like was brought in as manager. What were your impressions of kind of like Paul Cook when he first arrived? How did that work as a relationship?
Well, to be honest, it's quite funny actually, because he come in and he's a typical Scouser, right? And he sat me down and he said, "You don't look happy." I said, "I'm not happy." He said, "Well, we'll pay you up then." I said, "Well, why would I want to be paid up? I've been here 20 odd years at the time." He said, "Well, you're not happy." I said, "I'm not happy." I said, "If you want me doing cartwheels, losing every week, I'll do cartwheels for you." And do you know what he said to me? He went, "You will do for me." And then he pulled me and I went, he said, "When you come to work, you've got to have a smile on your face, right? Because life isn't about work all the time. It's, you know, live to work or work to live, right? But when you come to work, you should be happy. If you're not happy, then you're doing the wrong thing." And there's been times at this club where it has been miserable because people have been losing their jobs and stuff like that. But with Paul, mate, bloke's a gentleman. Yeah, he had his ways and all like that, but he wore his heart on his sleeve. And I like people who wear their heart. Being a fighter all my life, boxer and all like that. Col, I went to Commonwealth Games, I won 3 ABA titles and all like that. I get recognised around Pompey more for washing men's underpants than I ever did when I boxed. But that's how special these fans are.
And I mean, obviously, as that, you know, the first season under Paul Cook, we ended up losing in the playoffs at Plymouth, I think you remember.
Yeah, I remember my son come with me and he was sobbing his heart out. And some of the players were. And Cookie was gracious, you know, I mean, he didn't get on with the manager at Plymouth at the time, as you well know. But I looked at the man and he shook every man by the hand of their team. No, that's a gentleman. I don't care whether he liked a few beers or whatever. The man loved his football. That was his release, right? You know, I mean, like you said, last day of the season. You know, I mean, but when Man City did it at QPR, it was the best thing since sliced bread. Down the bottom of the pyramid where we did it, that was just as good.
And can you take us back to that day? You know, it was 5th of May, 6th of May, 2017. So what was the atmosphere like in the changing room beforehand?
Well, to be fair, it was relaxed, wasn't it? Yeah. No disrespect, because we'd already been promoted in Notts County, if you remember. Yeah. So to be fair, it was a relaxed atmosphere, and it proved it because we won. I think it was 5-1, wasn't it?
6-1.
6-1, yeah. So,
but at what point did you realise? You know what? Perhaps we might win the league. Can you remember always sitting on the?
Well, no, not really, because you were just engrossed in the game. It was only right at the end,
right,
that you realised it. You know, because to be fair, for that to happen, you know what I mean? It was a massive conundrum, wasn't it? But everything was in place, wasn't it? And it was a lovely finish to the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, quite indeed. And obviously, you know, at the end of the day, the fans spilled onto the pitch. I mean, what do you remember about the celebrations at the end of it?
Yeah, it's always a great celebrations with Pompey fans. You know what I mean? Going from, you know, I mean, you only got to go when we went to 2008 Cup final. You know, when as a kid you grew up watching the Cup final on telly. Even me, even though I was a boxer. You know, I used to love a Saturday with Cup final day, watch them leave the hotel and do that. And then all them years down the line, I'm in a hotel with a suit, a Jeff Banks suit. You know what I mean? I'm an extra boot neck, you know what I mean? And I got a Jeff Banks suit on and that, right? I'm sat at the front of the bus, right? And I'm thinking, and I'm reminiscing, going, I was used to watch this on the telly, right? Then you get to the stadium and it's, you know, before the warm-up, you come out and you look up, and all that blue effect. I mean, it's the same as the old Checker Trade Trophy. You know, I mean, we still haven't played the final from last year, and we sold 50,000 tickets. Right. That's astonishing. That's how special them fans are, right? And it's not me brown nosing or anything. They're special people. They love their football club.
And I mean, you know, the conversation that we've had here, you know, it has been quite an incredible 12 or 13 years that we've had the last 12 or 13.
I wish I didn't go through it, Col, to be fair, in some of it, but you learn from it, don't you? It's part of history. You can't change what's happened.
So we've had this fantastic story, you know, with as higher highs as you can get and probably as lower lows as you can get in that regard. I mean, just to bring it back to the film, I mean, how do you feel the film portrayed it? Did it capture the spirit of it in your view?
Yeah, it did. It did. To be fair, I was a bit sceptical about it, this, that, and the other. Whether you had to cut things legally or whatever, which is understandable, you know what I mean? But that's what's like we were talking about me writing a book. It'd be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That'll be the headline. I'm joking, by the way, but what I'm saying is, yeah, it did. It did. I thought it was very, very well put together.
Excellent. And I think you know, on a sort of like a final note, just to kind of, you know, to pull it all together in that regard. I mean, what are your views on the potential of Portsmouth Football Club? What can it be going forward?
My honest opinion is we're a championship club. Anything else will be a bonus. But if we did ever get up to Premier League again, it's got to be run properly. It cannot be built on sand. It cannot be built on greed. It has got to, listen, I'll keep going back to it, being an ex-Royal Marine, mate. I never spell team, T-E-I. Team is T-E-A-M. If you're in a team and it's like that, it's strong, the foundation's strong. If you're an individual, You're never going. And that's not just in football. That's in life. Being a good, honest. Listen, we've all done things we regret, and we've all done whatever. But teamwork is a massive thing. Massive.
Kev McCormack, thanks very much.
Thank you.